Yeah. This has been quite an experience, I swear. I'm really sorry, guys. I am. I'm sorry. I feel like transmission. Hey, Komba.
Hi, can you see me?
I know
Can you
you're
hear me?
probably just like, yeah, I know you're probably just like, this is why you must use MTN, okay?
Yeah, no, after COVID, we should probably think about coming into that market. Hey.
Definitely. Definitely, yeah. So you were telling us about how it is partly happening in Zambia as well. I missed the end of what you said.
Yeah, so I mean, we were just discussing the other topic that you brought about around, the challenges and the fact that
These
it would be
challenges,
nice
yeah.
for
So
us.
I mean, yeah. Well, you don't have a daughter, so at least you don't have to worry about any of your daughters ever ending up on that screen. Okay. But
Yeah,
we can laugh about this and all of that. But seriously speaking, I don't know what you think, and even we can ask our viewers. And I feel like, oh, Lou says, Comba, I'm out of wine. Let me swing by your crib for a top up.
yeah, he lives right around the block, so he's more than welcome.
Oh, yay. Come, Lou. Be good to see you as well on the live. But yeah, so I
Yeah,
mean, for me, I don't know what everybody else thinks, but for me, I'm like, well, is that something we should even discuss, or should we let people do what they want to do in terms of live and let live? Because obviously
yeah,
they can't go to nightclubs anymore, they can't twerk in the
yeah,
club, they can't use to doing in
yeah.
terms of the entertainment, so they're creating. Should we not let them be, or should we expect that with generosity? It should be going toward, PPE for our health workers or for our frontline staff. I don't know what the thought is there.
Yeah, no, look, I think everything with priority right now is to make sure that we are safe. The priority right now is to make sure that there is business continuity, that people get fed. So, do I think that entertainment is top of the list at a time like this? No, I don't. I think that the time is going to come and there's better ways to entertain
Yeah.
yourself that don't involve also. I don't want to shun upon it so much, but the truth is, I just don't think that now is the time for us to be getting involved in this type of activity. But um, yeah, that's my opinion.
That's your opinion, yeah.
So
There's someone here saying, I think
yeah,
it's
yeah,
degrading to females. Other people obviously have very strong opinions about it. But yeah, it would be
yeah,
good to hear from him directly. Like I said, I did try to ring him and get his opinion on it. But I think we'll leave that for later when he can speak for himself
yeah,
and explain,
yeah,
but he doesn't have to explain it to us. It's his money, it's his life, right? At the end of the day. But
yeah,
I just thought it would have been nice to see, you know, but yeah, so anyway, back to how when you're asking how we each are and coping mechanisms. Like I've seen so much skin on my timeline, Comba, in the past 2 weeks. Like so much skin. Whether it's titties, whether it's booty, whether it's just a lot. Okay, so I'm like, okay, when it comes down to it, are we a sexual society? We like to act as Africans a little bit, oh no, we don't do that. I know how I was raised as well, where I barely even
yeah,
show my legs. So
yeah,
part of me is like, okay, the true colors coming out now. Is that what people really want to see? Pornhub, for example, even made themselves free during this period. So are we talking that? We try to,
you
no,
know
I'm
too
serious.
much.
I thought you were like, oh. So for me, I'm like, well, at the end of the
Woo!
day, you know,
Yeah.
at the end of
So
the day, should we, yeah,
yeah, so look, Craig said something that was very important, right? So people have got different coping mechanisms. And that's the entertainment industry is the entertainment industry, and they've been really impacted by this thing. And business is business. So I have got no issues with skin and people trying to portray themselves however they feel like. There is a market for everything you're selling, all right? If no one, if people are not buying your product, then the product is not for them. So I'm very certain that porn sites ratings and what do they call it? Site visits are skyrocketing. And that's
Mhm.
fine. Human beings are sexual beings. So for me, that's okay. I don't shun upon that. It would be very hypocritical for me to, and I'm really trying to be politically correct here, but it would be hypocritical for me to say I haven't been, you know, looking at those things on the internet as you are scrolling on your timeline. You look, right?
Pops up. I
But
mean,
I
it's right
suppose,
there. Pops up. Are
but I
you
suppose,
looking?
yeah.
Yeah.
But
Mm.
the thing is, maybe my concerns are, should we spend so much money on it as opposed to diverting it to areas of greater need at the moment? There in, you know. But if people feel like a little bit, they want to show a bit this time, you know, let people cope however they feel like. Life is hard enough already as it is. And so whatever helps
Oh,
you sleep
so,
at night, for as long as, and if you're offended by it, please, by all means, don't watch it, shut it down. But
yeah.
I don't want to be too hard on society. My concerns
Mm,
is maybe not to spend so much money on it. We would like to
mm.
take the money where it's more needs at this time.
Yeah. No, I hear you. I think that's interesting
Yeah,
that you said, yeah, look, at the end of the day, it's maybe timing that right now is
yeah,
the time. I guess
yeah,
that's where the
yeah,
creativity comes out.
yeah,
Craig Zooey's during that take rate. I did actually consult you for
yeah.
my outfit today. Look at me growing up. You usually tell me everything about how I look. Craig is my stylist, and you can tell that
I,
I miss
I
you so
was
much,
two
Craig.
steps ahead of you in that department. Already reached out to Craig. This is all him, man.
No way! Oh! That's so unfair. Oh, Craig, did I do all right? Anyway, so
He
Craig,
was like white, crisp.
yeah, no, I can hear. It's probably two words. That's how he is. So Craig says, and if you can sell your product or service, where's he? If you can sell your product or service well online, well, make that money. Now is the best time. Craig, are you insinuating that a woman's behind is the product or service? I'm not sure what you're saying here, darling. Can you clarify for me in the context of our current debate? Because he's just saying that, and I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah. So that is interesting. But no, the topic of women has come up a lot, Comba, obviously, especially with slay queens and all of that, where people are like,
Yeah.
oh, well, where are the slay queens these days? They're
Yeah.
so quiet. They're not jet setting anymore. Obviously, they're sort
Yeah.
of in their real homes. They're not posting anything because the background is,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
And I don't know, but I
Yeah.
just found that was an interesting angle as well. And there was a debate that extended to say when we talk of women and exchange for resources and sex, they were sort of saying every woman pretty much is selling themselves, whether you're actually with a boyfriend who
Mm.
provides for
Mm.
you, or whether you're a glorified or
Mm.
very classy, high class hooker, that kind of thing, or an escort.
Mm. Mm.
I don't know what your thoughts are
Mm.
during this period for these girls who usually use their bodies and entertainment to make a living.
Again, I'm not gonna shun upon that. I'm not gonna complain. There's look, industry is industry, and it is an industry worth recognizing, and it needs to be treated with respect. There are
Mm,
women who move out of their homes to go and perform, for example, so that they can feed their families. So it is an industry, and it is a valid industry. It must not be shunned upon. I don't believe in what's the word for categorizing women, because in a similar vein, men are performers. Men perform now at bachelorettes, at hen parties. That is okay. There's a lot of there's a name for them. I don't know whether you call them candy boys or whatever, and they are busy doing what they have to do, and people are buying. It is a product out there with the price book, and it is fair that it is recognized, and they're given the respect that they deserve. Do what you have to
mm,
do to bring food
mm,
for the table, and if you don't like
mm.
what they're selling, don't tune in.
Don't watch it.
But
Don't.
we must, yeah, yeah,
So you're a
we
very
can't
each
be
their
a
own.
judge.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Look, within the confines of what is permissible, I think that there is a
Mm,
channel, and there's also platforms. And the good thing about today's era is that there is different platforms for different things. So
mm.
you shouldn't find yourself on the wrong platform, and then start judging what is happening on that platform.
Other people,
You know,
correct.
people
You're in the
know
wrong
that
place.
Twitter
You're in
is
the wrong
very,
room.
Absolutely. I don't have the tenacity for Twitter. So I tweet like once a month and it's very work related because
You
Twitter is
boy
very
quick play.
cutthroat.
You put like once a
Yeah,
quarter.
yeah.
Once a quarter.
Yeah, but once a quarter I'm good because Twitter is very cutthroat, right? And so you can't go to Twitter and start judging what people are doing on Twitter. If you don't have the
No,
stomach for it, then go to
sure.
Facebook or I don't
Yeah.
know where it's more conservative these days. Stick to Instagram.
Mm.
So
Mm.
let's not be too hard on each other. I think in a time like
Somebody
this,
put something interesting here. They said it's miss surprise. They say if something is, I don't know, I can't see it now, it's just disappeared. Oh, it's annoying. But basically what they're saying is in this context, do we blame the buyer or the seller? You know, when we talk about women, selling themselves or even agreeing to do that, who is the problem in society? Is it the women who are making that commodity available, or is it the men who are needing it? Supply, demand.
there's
I mean, who leads?
there's no problem. There is no problem. And just from the opening statement, I don't think anyone is the problem. For as long as
Okay.
people are selling and people are buying, it is called a
Mm.
marketplace, and it must be allowed to exist. It is the
Sure,
marketplace.
sure, sure. Sure,
Yeah,
sure, sure.
yeah.
And then there's another interesting element as well. Okay, so you spoke about being, as a married guy, you spent more time with your wife than you ever have. Now there are
Mhm.
people right now who spend less time with their boyfriend than they ever have. The person they thought, the person whom they thought was their boyfriend is their person. And even for women who are single or whatever it is, or men who are single, when you are dating, so to speak, right? I'll use dating in the very international term sense, right? Where you are looking at your various options. And during this
Yeah.
period, you now like, okay, well, now I can actually see who's interested in me. Somebody who was always
Mm.
busy, because now you can't be busy at work. You can't be like, I'm in the gym, I'll
Mm.
call you back. Or, oh, we're playing touch
Uh,
rugby. Or, oh, no, we're
yeah,
at church. Now you are
yeah,
accountable. Like every hour of your day is accountable. And if you're not with me, first of all, where are you? Secondly,
yeah,
when you're not with me, and let's say we can't physically, let's say it's long distance in terms of country, why are you not available on your phone in the morning for a video call like this up? And so I think there's that
Oh,
element, but I know we're joking about it, but it's so real. Like there's a lot of young people now who are just like, wow, I've been dating myself or I've been dating a whole ghost. Because now that
yeah,
real pattern of this person is coming out. Why are you men like that? What is up with that?
yeah. But to be quite honest, first of all, this is a time for reflection for a lot of people. This, I- First of all, as a woman, you don't deserve to be. As a woman, you don't deserve to be anyone's number two. You should be number one. You can't be second best. So
That's why you're my next.
the
That right
yeah,
there. Wait, pause. Say that again.
the
Remember?
girlfriend to the husband's ningiri, the whole thing is just it's too much. It's too much work. So
Yeah.
I do not know what kind of tenacity other women have out there, but to go out there and be someone's second, be someone's alternative. I mean, I'm sure the industry is very active there, and by all means, do what you have to do. If it's comfortable and it works for you, I don't know how so, but I just don't think anyone should be anyone second. There's enough people out there for you to
But
pick
also,
from.
wait. You're being so idealistic, and that sounded beautiful. I'd almost like record it and play it for my daughter one day when I have one. But I
Okay.
want to, I want to be a little bit real, where we do talk about relationships all the time, and there are physically more women than there are men. All right, I'm just going to put all the cliches out there
Mm,
and ask you, practically
mm,
speaking, are we expecting that every
mm.
single woman on this planet is going to have one man for herself? I do one, komba. Yeah, I do one. Huh? Nduzi.
Yeah,
I don't understand. Like, is that the ideal? Or is that the reality? Because I want you to just come down a notch from the idealistic perspective, which you just gave. And I completely support you. I do agree with the same, which is why I'm single, because I'm waiting for the right ideal, isn't it? If I didn't
yeah,
want that, I could date anybody.
yeah, yeah. So
Realistically.
I'll tell you what, as humans are humans, there will be men who are able to look after over 10 women simultaneously, concurrently. And God, the universe somehow, sorry, I don't mean to quote God, but the universe somehow always puts them in with enough resources, with enough what you guys call it Simba to take care of all of their business. So men have the
Yeah.
ability to take care of all of their business. It's unfortunate that there are girls who subject themselves to that, but it exists, and for some people it works perfectly. I've seen situations where the my guru and the my nini are actually amicable about this type of things. We have sectors of Zambia where polygamy is very comfortable. You know what I mean? And it's legal, and you can go ahead and take as many wives as you feel like. So I don't want to shun upon anyone, but in my own opinion, and if I ever had a daughter, or even to my sisters, I'm not going to allow them to be anyone's second or anyone's number two. It's not happening. They deserve to be number one and only.
Yeah, that's why I always call
But
you when I'm going through what I'm going through. That's why I always call you, right? Because you just bring
yeah,
me
keep
back to like,
calling.
wait a minute, what's happening? Is
Yeah,
it
so you need to read.
or any kind
Yeah,
of
you need to
what?
read.
Yeah, you always bring me back. It's nice. Because sometimes women miss the
Yeah,
signs, you see. We can miss the signs. And it takes just speaking to a friend. And like you
yeah,
said, my brother or my daughter, you're too emotional. But you, as my friend, I can
yeah,
hit you up and be like,
yeah,
Pomba, what
yeah,
does this message mean?
yeah,
As a man.
yeah,
And you'll be like,
yeah,
Ruby, run.
yeah,
Run. And
yeah.
that's
And
important,
and and
And
and
somebody
and
here
you are
wrote in the
deserving of the best that the world has got to offer. And sometimes
yeah,
as human beings, we forget because we go through so many things. And this is a time. So if you're single out there and you're on your own, you haven't been with a man. So now because we're at home, you get a little bit lonely. No, work on your damn self. Come out fine out of this thing. You've got to come out refined, refreshed, ready to take on the world. And somehow
yeah,
guys tend to like women when women are not looking. It's like when you least expect it, boom, then he appears. You know what I mean? And I think that continue to work on yourself. And to any woman who's on their own out there, they are deserving of love, and you're deserving of equal love, reciprocal love.
mm,
This is not
mm,
submissive. This is not about men and men standing and waiting for women to prepare themselves. Men should also work
yeah.
on themselves so that they can be chosen. Because
Sure.
women are choosing these days. Women have got options, right? And the world has changed. Last I checked, there are women who are juggling men, and they juggle up to 10 men. They have the tenacity. So it's not um, one way anymore. This thing is working both ways. And
It is. No, it is. That's a
women for
really
these days,
mm,
Nabasan become a savage, and so women can
yeah.
be quite savage.
No,
So
they
you don't
can.
want to
They
try
can.
them.
I don't even take offense to that as a woman. I mean, a natural
Oh,
response from me
yes.
should be, oh no, what are you talking about? Don't say that. But to be fair, I can't defend all of us because my type and this is
Oh,
and
yes.
people are doing what
Oh, yes.
works for them. And somebody here wrote, I think it's
Mm.
King Minox or Minox. They say, I want two beautiful women that I will love the same, no second best. God. And then somebody
Yeah.
good
And
Mundi
look,
says,
and if they're happy to be loved the same simultaneously, and they can share, most women I know don't like to share, but if they're comfortable sharing, then by all means, look, we're not going to make
most
it
women
hard for
don't
anybody.
like sharing. Ladies, I mean, raise your hands. Can I get an amen on that? I mean, I don't know how many women like sharing. I really don't. I
No,
think sharing is not
no,
caring. Sharing is getting less. And it's just not good for your mental health or your self esteem. Like actually,
yeah,
Godimun
self-esteem,
says,
yeah, yeah,
finally a decent conversation on Twitter. On Insta, sorry, finally a decent
yeah,
conversation on Instagram Live. Word, guys. So thank you for that. Well, we're not twerking or
yeah.
anything. We're
Cheers,
giving away
cheers.
money. So unfortunately, we don't have 29,000 viewers. But we are trying to
Yeah,
connect with
yeah,
everyone. Craig Dewey says,
yeah,
as long as no heartache and no stress, please don't confuse lockdown attention over the phone as love. And that's very true. These late night calls and
absolutely.
texts that we sometimes
Yeah,
settle for, especially women, are just not good enough. You should not just expect a
yeah,
phone call and think, oh my gosh, I'm the person. there's got to be more. Like men make an effort.
Yeah.
Every time I watch old videos and old
Yeah.
music, and old movies, it breaks my heart because you remember how much of a gentleman men used to be and the extent they used to go to make a woman happy. And now brothers are lazy, brothers are lazy. They don't do that anymore. So everything's changed a lot,
Yeah.
a lot. Yeah. So
Yeah.
here we are. But so that's the
So
relationship
so
journey. Hmm. That's the
yeah,
relationship.
and it's good. I'm glad we spoke about this because it really isn't the reality of the world that we live in. And everybody is deserving. Look,
Yeah.
and so yeah,
Where are you physically?
patience.
Like stop just hitting me up and being like, oh, thinking of you. Oh, what I waka. Where are you?
Yeah.
Physically. But yeah, Pumba, there's this other question though around our future with COVID, right? We talk about after
Yeah.
COVID. We've had a 2-week
Yeah.
extension. And
Yeah.
I in my mind, like my subconscious chuckles at that because I'm like, okay, how long are we going to keep extending? Because I
Mm,
don't think there's going to be a world order that can say after
mm,
COVID. What does after
mm,
COVID really look like? What does that
mm,
mean?
mm,
Are we ever going to go to
mm,
the same places we went to? Are we ever going to
mm,
practice the
mm,
same social habits as we did?
mm.
What does after COVID look like?
Okay, so look, from where I sit and what I'm seeing from countries that have gone ahead of us, and what the experts are saying, the truth is, eventually they're going to have to let us out. Okay, no economy can operate on lockdown, obviously, indefinitely. So eventually they let us out. We will have to live with COVID, similar to the way we've lived with other pandemics in the past, like HIV, right? And we managed, right? So if you remember in the 90s, that first wave of HIV and what it did to Africa, I mean, in Zambia, I don't know about Zimbabwe, but there is nobody who can safely say that they were not impacted by that first wave of HIV. You lost parents, you lost children, you lost an uncle,
It
an
was
aunt.
bad.
It was so
It was
bad.
bad.
Um,
And it was
but
like
it
that
was
HIV
bad.
you could see. Do you remember? Like it was like you can
Yeah,
tell this person,
you could
it was so
tell people
visible.
were graying
Yeah.
out, and yeah, it was
Yeah.
tough.
Oh,
And it's not to
it was
say
a lot.
that HIV is gone now. It's still among us, right? So we are yet to find a cure for it. But look, we are more knowledgeable. We know how to protect ourselves. Over time, they have brought in drugs, antiretrovirals, that prolong your health, give you extra strength on that immune system. So with time, you learn how to cope. In the beginning, it's like a hit, many lives lost, but we will figure it out. Will life be the same post-COVID? No. What I see potentially happening is you walk into a restaurant, the menus will now be disposable. There will be paper menus. We may not have as much sitting as we used to see in restaurants. We'll probably be running at half the capacity. Your waitress is going to serve you with gloves, potentially a mask, but maybe cooler with the same brand
Wait,
for the
hold up.
restaurant.
You might even remove the waiter and waitresses with AI coming in. You might walk into a restaurant, punch your order in the
Absolutely, and
machine,
punch your
and then,
order.
do you know what I'm
And
saying?
yes, yes, and I mean, artificial intelligence is going to accelerate. I mean, if COVID has done anything right, it's also accelerated digital transformation in many ways. So there's a lot that we're going to see transform
Yeah.
as we get out. And I think the most critical thing, ruveneko, is everybody to be prepared, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everyone from where you're sitting, whatever type of business you're in, you've got to be prepared for what
Mm.
life is going to look like after COVID.
Yeah.
And
Sure,
that
even
is,
getting on the plane. I mean, how many of us, who's going to take the day? Who's going to do it first? You know what I mean? It's like, well, I'm not.
yeah, yeah,
it's scary, it's really, really
yeah,
scary. And I think,
yeah.
we obviously can't directly compare it, to any other pandemic we've ever had, even with HIV. The scarier thing about COVID is that you don't have to sleep it with anyone to get it, which is worse, right?
ab-
Like you
yeah,
don't
that's
have to,
worse.
that's
That's
the
worse.
dynamic. It's
So
worse. Worse.
the route
So there's
the
no
route to
direct
catch
correlation. Hmm. The
yeah,
way
the
to
route to
catch it is
catch
just
HIV was definitely more complicated than what we're dealing with here. But look,
mm,
we're resilient. people. So we will live. We will live through this. You know, I think the Chinese, with all due respect to them, they went ahead of us, right? So you know, when you're in airports, you see Chinese people with masks on, and you're thinking to yourself, what is wrong with these people? You know,
mm, mm,
you see a
mm.
Chinese person at Harare International or KK International, full kitted with masks and everything, gloves, and you're wondering, why is she looking like that? You know, but
Yeah.
now we understand, and we're gonna join the bandwagon.
Mm,
And so yeah, the truth is we're gonna have to get out there, and what is very critical is for us to be prepared.
mm.
And yeah, so I have a friend of mine here, Dr. Albert Manasian. Okay, he is from the land of Kim Kardashian, so I have to pronounce his name. He's Armenian properly, so Dr. Albert Manasian.
He's Armenian.
So
Nice.
yeah, so he
Okay.
says that true
I'm not
COVID-19
even.
affects. So he says true, COVID affects everyone irrespective of age, sex, race, socioeconomic status, etc. And that that is true. So it's very tough, but we are going to manage to circumvent this. We will get out there. We will be more careful. Yes, we'll be hit in the
Mm,
beginning. They are predicting that over the next couple of weeks, Africa is going to be the epicenter for COVID-19. God forbid. And we pray to the gods
Africa
to
is going to be the epicenter. What?
they are saying it's going to be the epicenter in the next couple of weeks, and that's what all the
More than
preparation is all
China,
about.
more than Italy, more than America.
Absolutely, they are predicting. So you notice that our cases now, our death toll in the last couple of days in Africa has hit the 1,000 mark, and
Yeah.
we were for a very long time below 1,000 deaths.
Mm.
In Zambia alone, just today, I think we had our third death, and which is quite sad. Was a 19-year-old girl. She caught COVID and she committed suicide. So it really speaks into the mental health issues that you were alluding to. Not everyone has
Yeah.
got the tenacity to deal with this, and it's important for us to check on each other and to have platforms
Mm.
like this where we can properly talk about it.
Where we
I
can talk.
haven't
Yeah.
been I
Mm.
haven't been privileged enough to listen in on young Africans speaking about it comfortably and dealing with it. And we need to create as many platforms as possible for people to just communicate and say what their real fears are. I think that
Yeah.
the new booming industries after this, in addition to teachers and medical experts, is also going to be therapists, because people are going to
Mm.
need people to talk to. If you have lost someone, you have lost a business, you have lost your normal way of life as a result of COVID, you do need mental support,
Yeah.
and to
Yeah.
get yourself into good mental health. So it's really
Yeah.
going to redefine and realign the earth. So it's a tough time, definitely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's a lot.
but
It's a journey.
but
Yeah. So
yeah, go on.
no, so I was just saying when you mentioned, like losing somebody and the need for that, I was going to touch on Zororo and how we were all so shaken by his death, and how even up
Mm,
until
mm,
now we haven't yet managed to all connect and grieve our friend
mm.
properly. And the saddest
Yeah,
thing for me, Comrade, was just the negativity around his death, and the way that even in
yeah,
someone's death, people are picking at the most unnecessary things about a
yeah,
person. Shana, we have a
yeah,
saying that says wafawanaka, that when you're
yeah,
gone, basically you're good when you're gone, in that sense, that you
right,
don't basically speak ill of the dead. But
yeah,
when he died, the hardest part, especially as his friend, was hearing all these comments from people, even on some of my
yeah,
posts, getting attacked. Oh no, why are you supporting? Why are you crying? We're not crying, and I just
yeah,
thought to myself, when do we draw the line as humanity?
yeah,
When do we say, especially with children of somebody, right?
yeah,
And this is something you and I relate with, right? When you're the children of someone, there's always
mm,
that element of lack of sympathy, because there's a
yeah,
perception of how our lives
yeah,
are, or how we benefited from whatever regime. I don't know how
yeah,
you handle that. I suppose you being in Zambia, it doesn't happen to you every day. I don't want you to get too much into it, because it is 8 o'clock and 7 o'clock, sorry, and we're supposed to like
I did tell
maybe
you that
leave
it was gonna
before
run. It
chapter.
was gonna
No,
run for a little bit
and I'm
longer.
defiant. Komba. Me, I said, Shamwari, who says that not 7 o'clock? I don't care what you're saying. We're done.
Yeah,
But
but
I
yeah,
want us to touch on it and then maybe get into more depth on it later if we do this again. Are
yeah.
we doing this again, by the way?
Yeah, I think there's a lot to talk about, and we potentially may have to do it again. But I'll tell you, right? So I didn't grow up in Zim. Yes, my father is Zimbabwean, and yes, my dad was in the Mugabe regime. So for the Zimbabweans that do or do not know, Walter
Don't
Mzembe is
say
my
his name.
dad.
Leave it hanging. Don't say
No,
it.
it's
Don't
fine.
let. Did you say his
So,
name?
but
Did he just
but it
say?
was I did say so. It
Oh, I
is what
don't know
it
if they
is,
heard it.
and yeah, but it is what it is, and it's tough. But pain is pain. It doesn't matter where you come from. Um, uh, it is pain, and I think we need to respect in moments like that. Who, when people are mourning and they are grieving, you've got to give them space and room to grieve. Jororo, for those that knew him, know that his life was not easy, especially in months building to his death. He had precondition, and that's why he had to go to New York. Eventually came back, got hit with COVID. His immune system couldn't fight it, and we lost him. And that is very, very difficult for anybody to have to deal with. And so I think that we as a people should respect that, irrespective of where people are coming from. We will have a topic where we get into this sort of topic where people need to be empathetic towards difficult times, irrespective of who you are linked to or who you're part of. Difficulty
Yeah.
is difficulty, and this time has humbled everyone. It doesn't matter what your social status is, whether you're coming from middle class or you're privileged. And in most parts of Africa, actually, the underprivileged are actually safer than those that are privileged, because you people are coming into contact with your aunties and uncles who are traveling every day on those fancy
Or
planes
you
and
were
coming to
traveling.
visit you.
Yeah.
Oh, you
Yeah.
yourself were traveling. So it's really the equalizer. That's the nickname that I gave COVID when it just came. I know everybody
It
has
is.
their own special name for it, but I called it the equalizer because it's really going to bring us down to our knees, and
Yeah.
everybody's just gonna be humbled by it. So it knows no social status.
Sure, sure, sure. We have a
Yeah,
comment from France. B.A. Manjoro says, I'm in France living in a town where COVID-19 started and was hardest hit. I will not wish it on
yeah.
any African country. I saw it firsthand from the first reported infection until now. And I think this is
Wow,
it, Comba. Like, I mean, for us, we've got 25 reported cases,
wow,
3 deaths, and 1 recovery. And
wow.
while Zimbabwe has been very, very, diligent in terms of observing the lockdown, we've been very, very well behaved. One begs the
Yeah,
question, Kuti, is this really going to hit us as hard as it's hit the rest of the world? I obviously appreciate that now. There's going to be the spike, especially in the next coming 2 weeks. There's going to be a spike in infections. One, because we're increasing testing. And two,
yeah,
that window period is over in which your symptoms start showing, right? So
yeah.
there is that, but a lot of Zimbabweans are like, ah, this wasn't made for us. If it was going to hit us,
Yeah.
it would have hit us. But it's not for us.
So
Maybe,
look, I think
maybe in
it is
Congo we
very
will
important
travel.
for us to be prepared. The only thing that came to my mind that is a little bit different with our demographic, right? I looked at the population density in places like Italy, or New York, right? Where you've got New York has got 22,000 people per square kilometer in New York. If you've been to New York, you realize that there's people everywhere in New York.
Mm,
The city is crowded, and that's why they
mm,
call it the city that never sleeps. And
mm,
then you have Lusaka, where you've got 200 people
mm,
per square kilometer. So
mm,
22,200 people per square kilometer. It's easier to navigate it here in Lusaka, um, even though we don't have as much resources. In the time
mm, mm,
that um, COVID spiked in Italy from start to finish, we have had
mm,
almost like a month window, and we're still sitting at less than 60 cases.
Mm.
And whilst in Italy or New York, they spiked really quickly. So there are certain dynamics and
Yeah.
demographics that are playing a part, but you can't take that for granted. And that's
Mm-mm.
why we do have to be extra prepared. And Rubenako, everybody's wondering, even as they are listening in, okay, so if we have to be prepared, how can we help? It's like people is sitting. So if you are sitting in a position of privilege and you can help,
Or
it's very
influence, yeah.
important. Or influence, yeah. So it's not only about money, it can also just be about influence. You can influence people to do things. It's very important that you come together. In Zambia, again, Dr. Albert, him and his friends, they've put together a GoFundMe, right? And I'm gonna put up a link to it a little bit later. But they put
That's
together
dope.
a
Yeah.
GoFundMe page, and
Mm.
anyone can donate, and their proceeds are very clear. So they are taking their proceeds towards towards creating shields and masks, towards people who are in the front line, so healthcare workers. And they started their distribution today. I know they spent a lot of time distributing, and they are making these masks, and they are distributing. So there are ways to sort of add your value, and you can donate as little as in Zambian kwacha, 10 kwacha or 5 kwacha, 1 kwacha, it doesn't
Whatever
matter.
you can. There's no
um,
amount that's too
whatever
small.
you
Yeah,
can,
that's good.
whatever you
Yeah.
can, because they are
Okay.
people. And then let me paint a picture for you, Rubenako, what this thing has effect. Can you hear
I'm
me?
there. I can. Can you
Okay.
hear me?
So I'm saying what
Yeah.
this thing has effectively done, yeah. So what this thing has effectively done from a business perspective is that it has stopped the flow of cash between organizations, right? So between buyers and suppliers. So big multinationals depend on many SMEs to supply them goods and services. So now everyone is spending less, and so they are being starved of their payments. And so there is no money going on in the ecosystem. Now, this SME still has to pay rent. You still
Mm.
need to buy food, sustain your family, do your everyday, look after your own overheads. How are you going to do that if people are not spending? People are on lockdown. There is no
And
activity going on in the market.
yeah, I was just speaking to one of my friends in South Africa, and he was talking about that. Kudzai, he was saying that, especially when it comes to overheads, companies are now going to reach a point where, especially the entrepreneurs and the SMEs, they're going to
Yeah,
realize that you might not need to pay that rental on that office space, for one,
that's right.
because you
That's
can
right.
work from home effectively. Number two, there's going to be job
Mm,
retrenchment, okay, job losses.
mm,
We've already
mm,
seen
mm,
reports on that on the news. I
mm,
mean, I was watching TV the
mm,
other day, and there was like
mm.
5.2 million people that are talking about job losses. So the world
Wow.
order is going to change significantly. Like, it's not actually funny. And if there was ever a
Yeah.
time for young people to be relevant in their work, it's now.
Yes.
Whether you're an
Yes.
employee,
Yes.
whether you're a job owner, a company owner,
100%.
now is the time to excel, because
Yeah.
people have really, their value and worth is going to be questioned after this, where companies are operating at 40% capacity in terms of staff, but are still producing what they need to produce. So it's a scary season.
Absolutely.
And combine that with AI, we're not going to come out alive.
It's
A lot of
tough.
people
We're
are,
not gonna
hey,
come.
yeah, it's
You're
really,
so spot on. What you're so spot on, Ruvenako. This is the time for people to really work. So if you're gonna work from home, you really have to work, and you're going to have to differentiate yourself, because people
yeah,
are going to downsize. No one,
absolutely.
yeah,
Absolutely.
organizations are going to downsize. They are not gonna manage to carry everybody through, even though
Sure.
that's a priority. So, for example, I work for MTN, as you know, and our first priority is secure employees and secure their welfare. For as long as we can, we need to be able to pay wages. That would be the last resort, and we're not looking to do that. That becomes a priority. So, number one, secure the welfare of your employees. Make sure that those that are front facing and are looking after customers are secure. That is
Yeah.
what your priority is going to be. But moving away from
Simple.
the multinationals and the slightly bigger corporates to the SME, right? What do you do now in the wake of COVID-19? You've got that little business, you're selling, merchandise. How do you survive? I've got a good example of my friend Chungi, and she sells shoes, right? So she's got a little business called Little Big Business called Head Over Heels, and
That's
within
a
a
nice
week,
name.
yeah,
Yeah.
Head Over Heels, and within a week of this COVID-19, she gave me a call and says, "Look, Komba, is MTN looking to procure masks or test kits for its staff? I am willing to supply." She thought on her
Mm.
toes and says, "Look," and she said this to me. She says, "Komba, it's not all business that is driven by passion. Some of it is driven by your environment."
Yeah.
And that was so powerful. It's driven by
Mm.
circumstance, and
Yeah.
those that are more responsive to change are the ones that are going to survive COVID-19. So within the realms of your business, how do you then rework your business to service what people actually need at a time like this? That's what you
But
should
that's
be
exactly
focusing
what.
on.
But that's the magic of entrepreneurship. You must service a
That's
need, not
You
a
must
product
service
or
a
a
need.
service.
So focus
Service
on
needs.
needs,
Yeah.
not
So we
products.
have to
And
realign. Mm.
there's
Mm.
gonna be a lot of needs if you're in the events business, right?
Yeah.
Those are the ones that are gonna be heavily hit. Hotels have closed. Event
Mm.
planners are sort of thinking, what are we gonna do next? So first of all, typical example, if you're in the events business, look at your overheads, start to manage your overheads, start to manage your costs. If you've got permanent staff and a big bulk of permanent staff, you won't be
Mm.
able to manage maintaining all of those overhead costs. So you have to realign them. You may have to put people on contract and give them notice so that they too know what else they can do, right?
Mm.
And then start to find other ways to entertain. You're in the
Yeah.
People still need to get
Yeah.
married. They may have
Yeah.
postponed their weddings, but they'll still need to get married. They
They
may do
still
it
need
at
to
a
do it
smaller scale.
somehow.
So you may,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's
So
a
you
lot.
may
No,
need
it's
to
a lot. It's
do
realignment.
many
It's
small
realignment.
events. Absolutely. So
Mm-hmm.
you've really
It's
got to get
realignment.
into a space where you realign.
Yeah, I like this comment
Yeah.
from Tendai Clyde One says, I want to believe African governments will learn a lesson from this. Funding the health
Yeah.
sector should be their number one
Yeah.
priority, not the military.
Absolutely.
I just want to say hi to
Absolutely.
Talisa watching from Dubai. There's so
Yeah.
many people here. This is really nice to
There's so
see the face, the names of everybody. But you know
yeah.
what, Komba, we're gonna have to wrap it up because we are way over
How
our
much time?
time.
How much time do we have?
I've given you some time. We don't have any more time. It's after 7 o'clock. It's 7:13, and I obliged you. I did. This is my life. Okay, you came here.
Yeah.
But to be fair, it's all the glitches. And you know what, Pomba? I'm actually going to write to both Tel One and Econet. And like I said, this is not me
Yeah.
calling people out or trying to be rude, but
Yeah.
like I don't
Yeah.
see why we can't be live on the internet. I live alone in my entire house. Surely there's
Yeah.
no one using my Wi-Fi except me. So surely we should
Sure.
be able
Sure.
to hold a conversation.
So, so,
I mean,
so,
I'm really
yeah. So
excited.
let me just align that real quickly. So it's difficult even for mobile cellular providers, right? Because our traffic, we're used to heavy traffic in the homes at particular times, and heavy traffic in industrial area at particular times. So all of us telcos are going through network optimization and realignment. So they could be going
Blah
through their
blah
process
blah,
of
Mr.
adaptation
MTN.
as
This is
well.
now You're now selling us this now sounds like an infomercial.
No,
We don't
come
want to
on.
listen.
So
If there was ever a time for you guys to pull up your socks, it was right now. We shouldn't feel these glitches.
yeah,
Everyone is using
yeah,
data like
yeah.
24/7. We want data more than we want water because people are bathing once a day these days, if not at 2 p.m.
Consumers,
Do you know what I'm
hey, we
saying?
can't win.
So please. Yeah,
No,
so please sort it
please,
out. We don't want to hear it. Sort it out.
please.
I can't have
Okay,
this.
so
So I'm really
look,
gonna
look.
consult.
No, you've got every right to complain, but be empathetic as well. It's
Yeah,
tough times. It's tough times for everybody.
it's out of order, man. This is breaking up internet, killing our viewers at the beginning. We had like over 200 viewers when we started, and I feel like network,
Yeah,
network. And because it's the
yeah,
world of lockdown, everyone has other
yeah.
alternatives. Someone is live
Of
here,
course.
someone is live there, Twitter,
Yeah,
Instagram,
you're gonna
Facebook.
watch the other
People
live.
do all
Yeah,
sorts of things. Yeah, so you
yeah,
know what? But I'm glad for our
yeah.
first one. Thank
So
you
let
for breaking the ice
yeah,
with me on my first
yeah.
Instagram live, and thank you
Yeah,
for
it's
the
my first
phone
one
call.
too. So we
The
just lost
phone call.
our live virginity here.
Yes, we did. We lost our live virginity fully clothed. Look at us. And it didn't even hurt. Okay, so
It,
I'm really glad.
yeah. So
So
look,
look,
thanks
I'm
everybody for
happy.
tuning in, and everybody has been very vocal and very participative. Thanks for all the comments. We're gonna do this again. I think there's a lot to talk about, so we'll definitely be back. Ruveneko did tell me, "Come, but this might turn into a series." And I was like, but then now I think we should. It was just cold feet. I'd never done it before. But there's definitely a lot to talk about. I will do a Q&A, and Ru, I think you should too, because you've got a much bigger reach. So people seem to have a lot of questions that they want answered. They want to air out of their views. So I think at some point we should find some time to do a Q&A through on your story, and just help people through some of the questions they may not have
Yeah,
had answers through this dialogue. So yeah.
sure. No problem. No problem. Thank you. See, the nice thing about being Komba's friend is that he sometimes forgets who's the MC and he does it all for me. So you see how you just summarize the entire show and you think my guest. Okay, look, I know this was your idea. I know you called and this was your idea. But listen, I have nothing more to add. Guys, it was a pleasure. Thank you so much. Komba, enjoy the wine. And we'll catch up later. I think you and I are probably going to speak in the next 10 minutes for like
Yeah, sure. I'll
a
text you.
summary
I'll
of what
text
just
you.
happened.
We
Yeah.
have to.
So
You
no,
have to test the
love and
water. So
light.
yeah, thanks. I'll catch you now. I'll text
Thank
you now.
you. All right,
All right.
cool.
Thanks, guys.
Good night,
Bye.
guys. Cheers.
All
Take
right.
care.
Bye.
Yeah. Oh, I can remove him. Ah, this is wonderful. Okay. So I've removed Komba. But yeah, look, thank you all so much for being part of this first live. Very hard to know what to expect, what to really talk about. If we do carry it on as a series, maybe we'll have different guests or whatever, but send me your thoughts and your opinions. I'm always guided by you. Like I always used to say the days of my Facebook lives, you said you wanted Chino Timba, and we brought Chino Timba. You know what I mean? So do let me know what you want to hear, what we can do. We've got 2 more weeks here in Zim. But at the end of the day, the conversation should never stop. I don't know why I've never. Someone says, fix your network. I'm so sorry. I'm going to find out. I am going to find out what happened. There's no makisa. Umakisa chaigo last number. But yeah, good night. Love and light to all of you. Take care. Be good. If you can't be good, be safe.